Welcome everyone to the Electrical Culture of Safety Livewire program, where we delve into all the complexities of creating a culture of safety within the electric utility industry. In each episode, we feature interviews with subject matter experts, industry leaders, safety professionals, and field personnel from across the industry, where we discuss ways to develop a collective reflection of the perception, attitudes, and shared experiences of the safety culture within our industry. Welcome to ECOS Livewire.
Good afternoon, Electric Culture of Safety line team. Welcome to the Livewire episode. And today's special guest is going to feature Miss Shelby Wiedenbeck. And I think Wiedenbeck. But anyways, Miss Shelby, I met her on some training with our 40-foot beer meters demo training trailer. And wow, about 4 or 5 years ago, doing a tour with PG&E, and didn't know, but I saw her there. I remember her being there amongst all the line guys. You had the line lady, and so I'm really excited about bringing her on. I believe she was just topping out. We'll talk to her about it as an apprentice and coming into her line work as a journeyman. So this is going to be interesting. I'm really excited to get to talk with her since we actually have some history, which is unusual. So it's kind of cool. But anyways, let me read her autobiography here. And Miss Shelby Wiedenbeck, 30 years old, journeyman lineman from and work in Northern California. Been in the trade for a little over 8 years. I've done my entire career in GC line at PG&E, IBEW 1245. I worked all over our system through the years, distribution, overhead, underground, and transmission. Majority of my experience is in overhead distribution on construction projects, doing a lot more underground these days. Recently, I've been working with my leadership and other power industry companies, doing what I can to help close the communication gaps we face industry-wide, because I believe lack of communication is the largest safety hazard we face out in the field. And with that, Miss Shelby, come on aboard.
Hey, thanks for having me. How you doing?
Good. How you been?
Oh, it's been pretty wild out here with all the new construction and increase in power demand, right? Been good. Popped out a little over 2.5 years ago-ish. So It's been a while, a little bit now. Super stoked that we got in contact because I absolutely loved that demo you guys came out and did and do. And that trailer was really cool, be able to put it there in perspective. Your tools are really handy. So
no, that's awesome. And
yeah.
I remember you being in the crowd. That was in Maryville, correct?
Marysville, yep.
Marysville. Yeah. That was, man, there was a lot of folks there. I would guess about 50 or so.
Yeah, I'm working in Auburn now, but I was working in out of Marysville up until pretty recently, and even then there was a lot of guys, but the yard, we started with 4 4-man crews back in 2017, and when I got on, and now there's 6 or 7-man crew. It's getting big. That's what I'm saying. There's a lot more power lines needing to be built these days.
Yeah. So question, when I was there in Marysville and you were there, were you just topping out as an apprentice? Where were you at?
No, I was probably, I don't remember what year you were there, but I was probably about midway through my apprenticeship, or between beginning and middle. There, when I started, there was a year pre-apprenticeship. So,
okay.
Yeah. I feel like it was a while ago you were there, several years ago, but also you might have been there a couple times. I'm not sure.
Yeah, a couple times I toured with PG&E and your folks, but the time that I was with you and your folks at Marysville, that was one of the first times. So that was maybe 5-6 years ago.
Oh, sheesh. It feels like yesterday.
I know. Time flies by.
Oh, yeah, it does. Lots of work.
Well, give us a rundown. how Miss Shelby came into line work. I mean, you represent about 17% of our line force out there, workers total. So tell us about how this came to be, your interest and everything.
Well, I've always enjoyed being outside and like working with my hands. I've always been tomboy of sorts throughout my life, and I was in college and I just realized that, you know, in order to be able to like financially support myself and stuff, college wasn't going to work out very well for a few years, right? And I learned about NLC, and I just dropped my classes and went out into the trade. I went to NLC and then got on with PG&E shortly thereafter, and that was it. I didn't even know about line work or anything like that.
Wow.
It's kind of like a wild hair, but it ended up working out really well for me.
Wow. So you just heard about it. You were in college and you just heard about it, and it just clicked that, hey, this might be a good idea.
Yeah. And I mean, honestly, I just thought it's like 4 months, and, you know, the trade school is only 4 months long, and I wanted to work for the company I work for anyway as an engineer, and in a roundabout way, I'm an electrical engineer at the company now. So
Wow.
the best the company has, really, you know, as far as knowing how our systems work and how to build them.
Mm-hmm.
So it all kind of worked out.
I think it's incredible.
Yeah.
So you come into line work, you're going to the line school, you get hired with PG&E. So you've been with PG&E from day one, basically.
Yeah, my entire career. I actually didn't know till recently that line work was like any different anywhere else. And I always knew I was blessed to work for the company I work for. You know, we have a really great company. You know, they treat us well and stuff, but I recently learned that it's not like that. I was in a power company bubble. It's not like that everywhere.
It's not.
Unfortunately.
And you are with a great company. I personally know several of the people there doing the training and traveling around with you folks for several years. And you know the companies that are a little bit sketchy, and you know the ones that are pretty solid. And I like what you all do. I like your safety. For instance, your safety, the call that you all do every week. You had one this morning, you said.
Yeah.
Kind of give us a little taste of some of that. It's a great idea.
So every Thursday we have an all hands electric ops safety call at 0700. We had it this morning. Today is Wednesday, but we had it this morning because tomorrow is a holiday. We all just hop on there. Our leadership comes on and talks from different areas of electric operations and goes over like safety incidences, and then at the end, safety incidences like previously asked questions they address, and then what have you. There's a union rep on there, usually from 12:45, and at the end there's a Q&A portion where we can enter in the comment section and ask questions, whatever questions we may have, and then they get like upticked and like liked and stuff, and the most popular ones get addressed.
Yeah. No, that's cool. I was doing training in Ukiah, which I think is a really cool place to visit, and during the training, I actually had the opportunity to witness that, and they did it right there at the service center, and they did exactly what you were saying. But it was really cool, and I liked the questions afterwards that folks were able to ask. I thought that was neat, and there was a lot of interaction from the folks scattered all around. I really enjoyed that.
It's a good time. The questions are the best part. They used to filter them, but they don't filter them anymore. So that's cool. Like there's still a filter of sorts, but it's not how it once was. And I really appreciate, we don't need any filtering out here. It just puts more of a gap in the communication situation.
Yeah. We had a little trouble, technical. You were in the truck, the hard hat was behind you, and you were on the job site, and but you did great. And I think your phone just was wigging out, too hot and overheated and just wigging out.
I think it was too much processing compared to what it was normally used to.
Well,
It didn't like it. It wanted to build power lines.
right.
It's like, what is
That's
this?
yeah, right. No, that's cool. So let's pick up kind of where we left off yesterday. We talked about your history, how you got into line work. We talked about your school and the processes leading up to where you are today. We talked a little bit like that. And I'd like to ask you, as far as like when you were in school, when PG&E hired you, like some obstacles, things that were difficult that you had to overcome, and some advice and some words for line workers that want to come into the trade.
Well, for myself, some of the obstacles that I faced was the field work out at school. Like at home, it was easy because we did the same stuff like pretty much every day. As far as being out in the field, at school, it was a bit difficult because they would throw in all these tasks that you might not do every day. So at school, learning to, do things quickly and easily, ergonomically, basically. I had to learn to use leverage appropriately and get in good body positioning, because I can't fight stuff very long, as far as like I'm not super strong like a lot of the dudes are, but that, and then trying to learn that out in the field from a bunch of really strong dudes was hard. But that was one of the things. The other thing was me personally, sometimes you don't really like bond with the guys necessarily a bunch, which was hard for me, because when you're new, it's difficult, you kind of get like ostracized in ways, The apprenticeship itself is really long. It was 5 years when I started. Now it's 4 years. But the whole thing was difficult, honestly. Mm-hmm. And then I don't know. A lot of difficult stuff, really, but we got through it.
Yeah. That's awesome. So to get through it, what do you think helped you get through it? Your mindset as far as persevering, and what helped you? Name a few things that really helped you get through it, because I think what you're talking about, really, and talking with other apprentices in the past, it's hard for everybody to kind of get through this, and a lot of folks, they quit. They can't do it. They can't do the late at night, the storms, and they just can't do it. But what helps you get through it personally?
Well, I'm the type of person that, as far as mindset goes, if someone thinks I can't do something, I want to prove them wrong. Not giving up on myself and believing in myself, and understanding that at the least you can do is just show up, and you're 95% there if you just show up for work that day, or you just show up to the event, or what have you, whatever it is. And honestly, having passion, for what you're doing, because I don't think that in some of these circumstances you could get through it if you didn't genuinely enjoy what you were doing.
That's awesome. Yeah, I look at this trade, doing what we do at bierermeters and watching the other folks. I look at the line workers that are out in the field, and you can see the difference between the guys that have the bad attitudes and the gals. But I haven't seen any gals that had bad attitudes, but some guys I have. And the folks that have great attitudes, to where, like you said, they love their work, they have passion for the job, and it's an attitude like you're looking at your job that it's not really work. It's kind of like your life. It's what you do, kind of, sort of. You understand me?
100%. And I think that too, like, you never know like what area you're going to land in when you go out in the field, or what the work's going to be like. And so it's difficult for me when I get asked like, what was hard for you, or like what's hard to get through it, because I know even just from thinking about other areas in our system, like some places are easier to work, right? But there will be, no matter where you get in the trade, really hard times as far as you're exhausted or the circumstances where you have to show up, and it will be difficult. And if you don't love what you're doing, you're not going to be able to do it to the best of your ability. And we're a lot of times dealing with people's lives, whether that's immediately or subsequently, you know.
Man, that's really good. Yeah, I agree with you on that. You got a great outlook. You really do.
Thanks.
I remember doing the training with you all in California, Marysville, and I remember that I look at the crowd when we're training, and you see that small percentage that kind of don't want to be there, but they're there because it's their job. Even at a simple thing as attending training where you're just watching and listening. But I noticed you in the crowd as well, which, you know, it's with all the guys, it's like,
or not
okay, yeah, it's like, wow.
Yeah.
But what was interesting is you were paying attention the whole time. You were paying attention the entire time. And, you know, you had some of the folks that were in the background didn't want to be seen so much. It's paying attention, and some of them are on their phones and blah, blah, blah. But yeah, you were stout. You were stout, and you were in it, right? Your attitude, you were in it. So
yeah, well, there's a lot there for myself. First and foremost, I think it's disrespectful if someone's giving it, like, no, that's not why I was paying attention, but for the ones that just seem to not care, like, that's disrespectful in my opinion to like be on your phone or talking. It makes me upset. But beyond that, like, I love learning, and to me, I've always been told I care too much, but to me, like, why wouldn't you be interested in learning about this stuff? I already know that the things like the phasing meters and stuff like that, like, if you're not using those tools, especially with the new technology, if you're not using those tools every day, you're not going to remember how to use them. And the people that literally created them are here showing you this demonstration you may never see again. So why wouldn't you pay attention? I don't understand, but.
No, that's great, Shelby. Wonderful. And that's exactly the truth. And I like to share sometimes. Tell me what you think about this. So I give a scenario when I'm doing some training as far as the safety side, psychological safety. And you're in a committee, you're in a room, you're talking about safety, you're talking about the job, watching out for one another. And you have that journeyman lineman that's in the back of the room, and his hat's covering his eyes, and he's not really paying attention at all, really. And he's preoccupied with other things. Obviously, it's very obvious to see. To me, and you brought this up, to me, it's not just disrespectful towards the people that are sharing, but it's also indicative of your attitudes for caring for one another. Because wouldn't you want to learn how to do these things properly and perfectly as much as possible, so that when you're out in the field and you're practicing what you've learned, you're helping the folks around you to stay alive? And it's part of caring.
100%. And that's it's unfortunate because you can't, like, it seems like, and I don't know, I think it's kind of, we have a very good apprenticeship where I work, but I've also seen the ones that did the same apprenticeship as myself, that once they get to top out, they're like, oh, I don't need to, like, I'm good now. And they end up like those guys. And it's like, all they did was try. They didn't learn, train and do school to understand or to implement. They did it to pass the class. And for whatever reason, they think like once they get to the top out, their lineman, journeyman, whatever, some of them for whatever reason think, oh, like, we're safe, I know how to do this, like, whatever. But they don't necessarily, I think honestly what I think it is they're not conscious enough to understand the impact of their presence and influence on crews. and or the absence of their own understanding when it comes to certain subjects or scenarios, if that makes sense. And or they've never been in a situation, which is great, but they just literally can't comprehend the how things would unfold if even one thing goes like, I don't wish that on anybody, but you can't. Right. Somebody care, and I think that causes bubble wrap training in ways like too much control that tries to be implemented, and like that in and of itself is dangerous, right? Like then people don't think for themselves. I think it's a loop, and I've been trying to figure out how do we fix that, because the power industry is growing so fast, and therefore those numbers of those people are going to grow with it, and it freaks me out. I don't I don't know what's up with those dudes. I don't get it.
That run right there is so powerful. What you were talking about, Miss Shelby. Wow. That is prevalent everywhere that I travel, and the folks that I see. You have that percentage. You have that group that has exactly your attitude. And they might know their job, and they might know how to do X plus Y to get the equal Z at the end of the day. But you mentioned that scenario that could pop up, that thing, that once in a lifetime thing that you could only predict as a worst case scenario. All of a sudden it happens. Now what? What do we do? Right?
Not even once in a lifetime. There's a lot of things that make the X and then the Y that equals X plus Y equals Z. There's a lot of different things that are so controlled that they're not required to think about to get regular work done. But now those things, they're trying to control those things, the system, in order to keep people safe. And it doesn't make the out in the field responsible to understand how those things function, like switching and stuff, or equipment. They standardize all the equipment for reasons that make sense, but then people don't study equipment. They don't understand how equipment works. So it's kind of like not like once in a lifetime random stuff, because that can happen all the time. But there's a lot of things in the cog that makes up the job that if you don't understand why it's functioning that way and something goes wrong, you're not even gonna be able to identify it. So it's like plus random scenarios that could happen, like random life accidents, like driving or working out in traffic, or someone has a heart attack, or you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't know why people don't care. I've always been told I care too much, but it's caused me to be a good student, which I don't think everyone cares like that anymore.
Not everybody, but with the thing is, though, you're setting up a great example. And, I mentioned this earlier in some private message with you that as far as influencing people, when you really, truly can show through your actions, not words and all that you care for people, paying attention. We covered that. Paying attention, watching over all the little details, trying to continually learn, not getting that position where I know it all, so I don't need to keep learning. But that's showing you do care, not only for the trade, but for your crew all around you.
100%. And there are several out there like myself that have the care that I do. And even we will be the first ones to admit, like, oh, we haven't used this meter in a long time. Let's look at the directions, all that kind of stuff. Whereas I think a lot of people would omit using it, so they didn't have to admit that they didn't remember how to use it. Right. But we all stay learning, and it's not even feasible to think you're going to remember everything, because there's so much other stuff that you have to remember and think about on a regular basis. Right. So it's like, I think it's important for people to not be afraid to admit when they don't know or understand something. And I think a lot of people aren't willing to do that.
Yeah.
And plus all the other stuff turns out, like the guys that you're talking about that show up and they're not even paying attention when most of the time the reason that there's a reason these meetings are being held, or there's a reason you're bringing your trailer to our yard, right? You know?
That's great. So this journey we're on in this podcast, I really like how this journey is going. And so let's continue. Let me bring up a question that you actually put this into your biography, and it's that you believe that the lack, and this is good, the lack of communication is the largest safety hazard we face out in the field. That's what you said in your biography. And hey, I agree with you. And we'll talk about that some more. But what are some ideas, some critical steps that we could take to harness this lack of communication, as far as your opinion?
I think what that takes would be, besides the people, the boots on the ground that are out in the field, attempting to start and have conversations and be willing to speak up. I really genuinely believe it for the best shot, leadership, leading and leading by example with having these conversations and showing people that they are safe to speak up and have these conversations, and then also backing that by action to address whatever has been brought up.
Man, you're bringing us some really good stuff here.
It's been my life recently with these endeavors, and I've fought it systemically in ways as well, even within our own company. But luckily, I've had some of our leadership that has led by example in order to try to help close these gaps, because it's a whole cog. It doesn't matter if the person on the top's on the same page and the person on the bottom is the same page. It's a whole machine, dude. So everyone's got to be on the same page, and we've been trying to line that out.
Nice. So tell me what you think. I'm going to give you a little scenario, example. So when I'm going around the country, I see the difference in a company, an organization, to where the CEOs, they're actually the top leadership and the folks underneath them, they're actually involved in some of these meetings. They participate in some of these meetings with the folks, like you said, that have the boots on the ground. Mm-hmm. And the culture that I see in those scenarios are heads and shoulders above the culture, to where the CEOs and the higher ups don't have time. They don't have time for their people. I'm telling you, I see the culture is so much more positive, and it's fostering line team. Big difference between the two. Big.
Yeah. So what I've ran into recently, again, is it comes back. Yes, the culture, that's a start, right? The culture's there, the effort's there, but these people are too far removed. Like the highest of leaders will say CEO, executive, they are too far removed. That's what I'm saying. Even if it's just one person, say from myself up to our CEO, even if 4 of the people in the leadership line are on the same page, but there's one gap, you're done. You're done. And that gap affects all the direct reports of that person. And so it's a start for sure, but it is if everyone's, again, the communication thing, dude. And if every united front, all that stuff, I could go on forever. But it could just be one person. It could just be one person, and it's infecting 5,000, 10,000 people.
Yeah. Well, man, you're nailing it. You are flat nailing it right there.
It's a start, and I appreciate that. And I know it's better now than it has been, even at the most buttoned up companies, right? And I can only speak on my own experience. And the efforts there. But I think even if you talk to the CEOs, the executives, even if they lead by example, they understand they're too far removed from the work. They can only do so much, right, in their own job scope, and they have to do what they can to help line that out to boots on the ground, right?
Yeah. So
I'm not fighting it right now. I'm trying to help close that gap.
Yeah. No, I know your biography was exactly that. And you're doing a great job, by the way. So what do we do? Okay, so we have that one person you were mentioning could be on the crew itself. That one person could be in the yard for a short time. That one person could be at the safety meeting, the safety call up.
Mm-hmm.
That one person, there's that one person. So what can we do as a line team to reach out to that one person? And you talk about speaking up. So is it safe for us to speak up to that higher up that could be that one person and just say, hey, man, look, we really need some unity here. Is it safe to do that?
I guess it depends where you are. It depends on the culture, all that kind of stuff. Because, for instance, like I can at least say from my experience that generally your foreman, your immediate leadership is on the same page and all wants the same things. And so I have no answer with that. You got to get around. I don't know. Get around the obstacle. How are you going to do that? I'm not sure. I'm trying to combat that right now with some of the stuff I've been working on because, I don't know. I think accountability, making sure people are of their word and trying to, if they're not listening, trying to shove it in their face, know, because there are systemic issues like old ways and habits that I've seen myself over the years, and sure, the culture's changed and all that kind of stuff, but I've seen how that old culture, even just in my own area that I've worked in, how that has had the numbers it's infected when we grew. Mm-hmm. So it is now I was not a victim of it, but byproduct of it in a lot of ways, to where even though these days, since our leadership has been very supportive and speak up culture and all that, where I still run across circumstances where I'm scared to say anything. And I'm in one of the best cultures to do so.
Isn't that amazing? So
I don't have
there's room. As long as we look at the situation, our culture, and just always think that there's room for improvement. We could be better. Hey, we're really good at what we do today. We're really good, but we can be better, right?
Always. I think there's a knee-jerk reaction with things too that doesn't help, because that doesn't address the root of the problem. Like, okay, we're going to do something because that's being good leader, immediate action, right? But then how the situation came up never really gets addressed fully, or they put in a mitigation that doesn't actually help. It ends up hurting. So that closing that boots on the ground gap with the appropriate leadership is probably appropriate, meaning not too far removed, is probably because we're lucky at least. And they need to be at executive level, need to be on the same page, because I've understand that that's an issue too at some companies. They're not on the same page. We're kind of all screwed functioning as a unit for the common goal, right? Mm-hmm. But we can do our best to try. I don't know. I'm trying to figure it out right now.
No, earlier, I've been working on a project for about a year now, a little over a year, and I want to send this to you. But have you ever seen an energy wheel? The things that could harm you. Mm-hmm. PG&E uses that.
Yes.
Okay. So basically, this here.
Similar.
Yeah. So this is side one. Things that could harm you. Okay. Mm-hmm. And right up here, let me make sure I get it right. let me turn this around. Right up here, I added, so it's called Energy Wheel Reinvented. So there was 10 items. The 11th one I added in. So that's why it's reinvented. And it's about people. Mm-hmm. And these are, people can harm you as well as these other energy sources, right?
Yes.
But they can harm you as well. And and now think about this. Typically we do a job brief, tailboard. What do you all call it? PG&E. You're on the field. What?
A tailboard.
Okay, awesome. So when we do a tailboard, typically we're identifying hazards, things that can harm us, right? Slips, trips, falls, closest to the traffic line, all these things that can harm us. But the one thing that we don't talk about is somebody that on our crew that morning has an attitude. Because if you're not connecting as a team, what happens is that actually can be identified as a hazard.
I just ran across this yesterday. I swear it was a topic of conversation. So I'm working in a different area now. And, it's hard not to get frustrated when things start to go not as you planned. Like I told you yesterday, we ended up short-handed and all this stuff. And in my past, I'm used to linemen getting mad, right? And getting frustrated, and then everyone gets frustrated. And I actually had this conversation with the crew that I'm on right now with the foreman about how it's infectious because because they are very calm. The crew that I'm on right now, the linemen and foremen, and we had a lot of things go astray, and they remained calm, which it's even hard for me at a certain point to understand, like, how you guys not losing your coolness, right? And we had that conversation, and when they would get mad, they would just be quiet, and you wouldn't really physically see it. Their normal behavior, just positive and happy. When they were frustrated, they just get quiet. Wasn't taking it out on anybody, right? And we had that conversation of how it's infectious, and I thanked them for that, because even I was getting frustrated at a certain point, but they're the leaders of the crew, and they were remaining calm and not putting any negativity on the crew. And it really wasn't, because everyone was already frustrated, period, right? Mm-hmm. Getting frustrated. But had they reacted that way, that it's infectious, whether it's the calmness or the anger, right? And we're already in a situation where things haven't gone as planned, right? And we're getting tired.
They never do.
Yeah, we're getting tired. And if the leaders of that crew were to act in anger, it would have just made it 100 times, not worse, but more difficult to safely and efficiently execute the job, right?
Yeah.
Funny, we just had that conversation yesterday.
Yeah. So again, you've just identified a possible hazard that was avoided by the calmness.
Potentially avoiding all the other hazards that were presented, because we were able to address those because we were level-headed to the best of our abilities.
Nice.
You know what I'm saying?
That's really good. So what I'm going to do is, because you wrote communication in your bio, you're trying to bring that gap together. That's the biggest safety hazard. You said the lack of communication. Mm-hmm. So the first thing I address is side 2. Side 2 is the things that can help you and people. And the first thing I deal with is communication, which is your number one thing. So what I want to do is, here, I'll show you. This is A. So this is A, communication. So what I want to do is I'm going to send this to you. All right. I'm going to ship it to you. And I want you to study this, because there's a couple things on here that will help you, and you'll just study it. The whole outline, as far as working safe, working as a line team, is all right here. That's and you cool. Can share, you can share this with your crews. But it's going to help you just keep studying this, because this is amazing, and it gives you the boxes to check on how to do this as a team. It shows you that coming together, the 4 steps of coming together. And one of them is, which you brought up, is challenging the status quo. You brought that up. Is it safe to challenge the status quo? And all that's right here. So I'm going to send that to you. I think it's going to really help your ability to be that leader, that you're made to be a leader. I mean, the things you're saying here, the things you're saying are, well, no, I'm just being honest. But the things you're saying in this podcast are so powerful. I don't even know if you have a clue, but they are so powerful. And we need these things in our companies, our organizations, and that the CEO and the executives, they've got to embrace your message. They have to embrace your message. It's a good message.
Yeah, no, they've been my company have been very supportive, but again, there is small gaps that and we have to work together to figure out how to close those gaps. I think the whole my thing with communication started from the beginning of my career. Everyone thinks differently, and a lot of times it was hard for me to get on the same page. And a lot of times I remember my fellow apprentice and I'd be like, if plans change, like it's something we continue to schedule, like no one told us anything, you know what I'm saying? And and a lot, like I don't know, it's been a thing my entire career, and I've just come to understand that how that can affect the soundness of executing work.
Yeah. So let me ask you a question. Let's go back to apprentice school. Mm-hmm. Would it have been advantageous? Let's talk about this in apprentice school, to where you're not only teaching the work skills and the items that deal with safety and the hows and the whys and the whats of the job, but would it have been advantageous, and would it be advantageous that day one that we also start bringing in communication skill teaching and learning? Seriously, to where we have these classes during our apprenticeship, not just one class, but I'm talking communication skills, leadership skills, influencing skills one another for the positive side. Would that be something that could be brought into these schools?
I think it's not a bad idea. From my experience, in our apprenticeship, we do have our 8th step is coaching and counseling, or coaching and mentoring, or something like that, where they do bring somebody in and like teach you like team building skills and stuff like that. But that's towards the end of the apprenticeship, and it can't hurt for sure. From my experience, I know there's already so much they jam pack into the schooling that it's even that, right? Jam packing all this stuff in is one of the reasons I believe we end up with the people that just study to pass and don't study to understand throughout the apprenticeship, right? But our training facilities and our schools and our instructors, they're all like, speak up, communicate. They have very good communication skills, all this stuff. It's that paralleling with the field that I think somehow, because it's been good, and again, it has gotten a lot better, even just in my career. But that could never hurt, because we even need everyone, even in their lives outside of work, needs help learning communicate, right? And it does overlap into our lives outside of work. I don't
it does.
Being on the same page first and foremost is definitely where we and that's why it's cool, like that you're doing this and we've connected, and some of the others, like a lot of us are on the same page. It's the in between that we got to iron out, you know what I'm saying? Because it's just I know
No, I love your explanations. You're doing again a great job. Let me ask you a question. I was asked interestingly enough, the person that asked me this is kind of an influencer. And they asked me this question. I don't want to mention names or utilities or anything, but there's a push by a large utility to create. Now check this out. This is a true story. Just a few days ago, and I couldn't believe it came to me. But anyways, check this out. I'm going to ask this, and this is verbatim what they said to me, asking me this question. I want to see how you feel about this. What's your opinion about an all-women climbing school versus integrated, pros and cons? Does this helps or perpetuates existing insecurities, divides, and prejudices? Question.
I was just thinking about this because I judged at a rodeo, bro. I don't know. It's like a league of their own, right? But then are you distancing them further from participating at the same level? I don't know. I literally was just thinking about this because because our company, we don't really have a lot of females participate in the rodeo, but I noticed they gave out a females award and there was only a couple of women. And then I was like, shouldn't they just be considered part of the group? But then I remembered like a league of their own. And I'm like, because my first reaction was like, why are they making it a big deal? Like and then I thought about it and I'm like, wait, I don't know. That's so crazy.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Does it harm? Does it help? Does it hinder? Like, I have no clue because that's so interesting.
Isn't that interesting?
Trip, dude. It's a trip for sure. Yeah. Because I don't think that for myself, I think if you were to say, let's say throw 10 of the women that are willing to be out in the field into a competition and put that against, and then have your group on a different side of 10 men in a competition or what have you. So we'll say the strongest or best in that group of 10 women will be the best, but then without having those men to compete against, they're not that best isn't going to get any better. So what do you do?
Yeah.
You know,
it's a quandary. Basically I gave them my thoughts on this, and my thoughts is that I don't want the women separated from the men at all. We're a team, and that team atmosphere has to be respected, I believe, from day one, regardless of gender. I think we just got to have respect, period.
Yeah,
age,
for sure.
Yeah, age, skill level, gender, all these things. I think we need to be able to work well with the assets and the skills that, hey, if someone has less strength than me, but what are their strengths? And speaking with you, Miss Shelby, your strengths are you're seeing details. You're actually meditating on things as far as improving. What can we do better? And you want to learn. Well, a lot. That's you. That's women. Women look at details, and my wife, for instance, she's looking at details. I'm a guy. I just walk in and throw things around and do this and that. But my wife's looking at the details, and I respect her for that. And hey, trust me, if I had a crew out in the field, I would want at least one woman on that crew, just because she's going to have a different perspective than the rest of those guys.
Even regardless of, well, I do believe I know how to do my job fairly decently, but regardless, any sort of diversity is an asset on a team. Mm-hmm. And I know men that are like myself too. You're talking about detail oriented. Came across men out in the field. I actually have a couple on the crew I'm on right now that are detail oriented like myself, high strung, if you will, or what have you. But I do believe also, just take the gender thing out of it, and everyone's got something to bring to the crew and different experiences. So one person might be good at this and one person might be good at this, or better or worse. And together it makes a much stronger, team, you know? And I don't, that's so interesting. You brought that up about this separating. What were you were saying separating for women's work?
Yeah, for line school. Have a separate
yeah,
line
see,
school.
I don't think that's a good idea.
I agree. That's what I told him. And this is, I don't know. Why are we bringing in division like this? I don't get it.
I don't, and at what point, like, and so so line school, I think base, because, bro, let's be honest, like, I'm sure there's far less women try to go into the trade. And then say you get into a hard area and it just like, who knows how successful anyone's going to be getting into the trade and whatever. But it's not going to do anyone any favors by, it's going to make what they're trying to, I don't know, do. It's counterproductive in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
But at what point is it like where they set a league of their own or whatever, what have you, where that there is competition. There's women's basketball. But there's not that many, and it's like, if you can't play basketball, you can't be in a women's league to play basketball at that level. It just doesn't work. And there's not enough. You said something about 17%. I'm part of 17% out in the field. And I was thinking about this last night. Is that just women out in the field or is that linemen, like female?
No, it's in our industry. So it's basically, it's a lot less out in the field. Oh yeah. A lot less.
Like 1%. I'm probably 1%, maybe.
Yeah, I would say that's pretty accurate number. That's amazing to me.
Why wouldn't you put someone into the situation they're most likely to be in order to see if they are set enough to go into that?
I agree.
It doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense to me either. But I wanted you. Well, that's good. You gave your opinion, and that's powerful. We need it.
You're screwing the guys too.
To me,
you're screwing the guys.
Yeah. To me,
honestly, with that decision.
Yeah.
If someone were to do that.
Yeah, it's true. I think it's detrimental to both sides. Personally, I do. Yeah. So Miss Shelby, here you are today. Now, what about your tomorrow? What are some of your near-term objectives and goals for your career? What would you like to do and be at several years from now? Near-term goals and objectives.
So this one's been hard for me because I've only been a lineman for a couple years, and due to circumstances, how I feel is that I haven't just gotten to be a lineman yet. Several things that have happened in the past couple years, and that's all I worked for a long time, right? All I ever wanted to do. But that being said, so once I got there, I never really, that was my goal for so long. And then all these life things happened the past couple years that I never have been able to really focus on what I'm doing next, because life has just been like, you're doing this right now. Right.
Yeah.
I have no clue what's next immediately. Right now, what I'm working on is trying to close that gap. That we're speaking on, because it's getting really hard to execute work, and none of the guys will say that because the system's getting a little haywire. And I think it has a lot to do with our growth and power demand and hiring and all, like how many people we're hiring and stuff, and we'll get the work done safely. But it's just getting really difficult. So immediately right now, what I'm trying to work on is helping close that gap. I want to stay out in the field. My plan was always, I knew it wouldn't be very reasonable to stay out in the field more than like 10 years because I would want to grow in my career and stuff. But as far as what's next in my career, I don't know. I just want to be a lineman. That's all I've been trying to do for like 8 years, Well, not 8 years, but because I feel like I haven't just gotten to do that since I've topped out. So, but right now, immediately trying to help use my relationships I've built with our leadership to start working on some things that I believe need to be addressed, that I might have a hand in helping address and helping the bros out. So when I do move on with my whatever, I can continue to help them and be their voice, help be their voice,
I like
because
that.
they're the majority.
I like it. So, no, that's beautiful. So what we have here is Miss Shelby. You're getting further into your career, and you're 20 years from now, and you look back on your life as a lineman. You look back on working with the fellas and other ladies and the organization. When you look back, what do you want to see as far as your legacy? I call it a line legacy. Something that you will be known for and remembered for when you do. I mean, we all have to eventually leave, by default, right?
Yeah.
By default, we have to leave eventually.
Yeah.
So, but when that time comes and you look back, what kind of line legacy do you want to be remembered by?
Well, my whole life, all I've ever wanted to do was maybe just be able to help one person, right? Like if I could do that, or if I could just make one person smile, that my life would be worth it for me. But I've come to realize that maybe I have the opportunity to help a lot more people than I ever thought. When I think back about what I would like people to remember is that I stayed positive, or I tried to help, or I did help, or I have somebody, I encourage somebody to be kind because they remembered myself, or they remembered myself persevering. You know what I'm saying? Like, at least just have a positive impact on one life was ever my goal my entire life, this trade or not. So I guess that's still the goal. Just trying to help, to get in where I can fit in and help the most people I can. Kind of person. It's a legacy I want to leave,
Yeah. The biggest part, and you nailed it. The biggest part of safety and forming a line team is caring for one another. That's the biggest part. And if you truly don't care, you don't have to like them to care. If you truly don't care for your fellow line workers around you, your line team around you, basically that is a hazard. And I'm really good at predicting the future.
Okay? Are you an intuitive man?
No, now listen, I've predicted the future for several people throughout my life, and I told them where they're going to be in the next several years. And pretty much every one of them comes true. And it's not like a big deal or anything. It's not like a woo-woo thing, but you could tell where they're going to be in the future because of their attitude today. I'm just going to lay it out. That's how you do it. It's so easy. And I'm going to tell you, you will influence a lot of people. I'm just going to say that right now. And you can write that down and watch what happens several years from now. You could go back to this podcast. You will help influence a lot of people and help a lot of people because of who you are as a person. And no, thank you.
I trust you, man. I've just always wanted to be a lineman, and that's a heavy load to be handed. That's part of what I've come to grips with recently.
That's right.
You were at our yard several years ago. I don't know. How did you end up at our yard? Did you work with the supervisor to get there, or do you even know?
Yeah, I worked with the supervisors that knew that we were doing training. What's that?
Does Kip ring a bell?
Yeah, he was one of them. Mr. Searcy, Mr. Joseph, he was part of that as well.
Okay. Kip?
But yeah.
Kip's like my dad. This trade's given me a lot of family, and Kip's like my dad, and he's told me forever, "You're gonna go far, kid." I'm like, Kip, I just want to be a linesman, dude.
He's right. He's right.
Like he goes the intuition thing. I was like, "Are you an intuitive dude?" Because I've come to understand intuition, and then also look back on things like Kip always say. I mean, Kip, I just want to be a lineman. Even this last Thanksgiving, I spent at his house, and he's like asking like what do you know, like, do you have goals, dreams? And I was like, I just want to be a lineman, Kip. This was last Thanksgiving.
That's awesome.
But
that's great.
Like I'm totally about getting in where I fit in for the fam. You know what I'm saying? To help, because all I'm trying to do, and always I've tried to do, is help get my bros home safe. So if I have a better, different angle shot in hand, best believe I'm gonna take it, right? For the fam.
Incredible.
I just want to be a lineman, but maybe it's not. You know, I don't know.
That's awesome. Yeah, you're doing great. So, Miss Shelby, this has been wonderful, and I appreciate you coming on board to ECOS Livewire and sharing your Livewire story. It's an amazing story, and I think your story is going to go far. I think your story is still being written, and I think it's going to be written in the hearts of many linemen around this country. And just appreciate your attitude, your positiveness, and the direction that you want this industry to go. And thank you so much.
I appreciate you, dude.
Bye-bye, Shelby. Thank you.
Bye.